think people really think that I've got it all together and I've got it all figured out, and I absolutely do not.
And you said you're addicted to struggle porn.
Struggle porn. I was like, whoa.
I think there was this whole chapter of like the hustle culture, the Gary V's and like 4 hours sleep. I had a really tough week in the office. We'd had a massive deal fall over. I'd just broken up with my boyfriend. I was just in a shit place. It took me a long time to take a step back and go like, this isn't working for me, and I don't think this is actually healthy for anyone.
Can I just say hashtag struggle porn? Welcome back to another episode of No Business Being a Castano. I'm Amy Castano. This is Jono Castano. And today, from big business ideas to big business, Taryn Williams is the powerhouse entrepreneur behind multi-million-dollar brands like The Right Fit and Wink Models. But beyond the boardroom, who is she really? We're diving into the personal side of her journey, the highs, the struggles, and everything in between. Welcome, Taryn.
Thank you. Oh my God, what have I agreed to?
You signed that on the way in, didn't you? Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure.
So, as mentioned, this isn't a business podcast. Even though there's business in the title, it's not a business podcast.
I love that.
We're curious about you. We want to know about you and what gets you to being the most incredible business entrepreneur that you are today. Let's kick off.
Let's kick off. Hey, I guess like for me, what I've always wanted to know, like obviously the success, like in terms of, does that put a lot of stress on you and like having to maintain this image of, you know, being such a successful entrepreneur? Has that put a lot of stress on you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really interesting. I did my Myers-Briggs test. I don't know if you've ever done one. It's like a personality test.
I think I got halfway and I was like,
Did you?
So you're supposed to do it in this like
finished.
flow state where you don't question it. You just like, your first answer is the correct answer or whatever. And I'm naturally an introvert, which people probably wouldn't pick.
Me too, don't worry.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You're the outest of most out.
I just tell people
that.
Extrovert. Close, same. And when I did it, I tested as an extrovert. And my business coach at the time was like, that is terrifying. You have clearly lived in the world for so long with a mask on, putting on this pretense that like everything's great, everything's amazing, I'm out in the world, I'm networking, and it's so not your natural state. And I think that that's really terrifying. I think as an entrepreneur, you put all of this pressure on yourself and you're responsible for so many people, like all of your staff, all of your stakeholders, shareholders, all of these things. So I think, it does put a lot of pressure on you. And obviously things are not always great as an entrepreneur. Things are not always great in business. And it's that tough line of how much can you share? Your team don't want to know when things are not great necessarily. Like how much do you share with them to help you solve the problem but not terrify them that, you know, you've only got 9 months runway left if you've raised venture capital or whatever it might be. So it is stressful. It's an incredibly stressful journey.
Yeah, it's very stressful. And I think I definitely find that stress because Jono is like the opposite of me. He's the biggest.
Thanks,
No, but in a good way. You have the strengths that I don't.
We did date for a while, you know.
Oh yeah, we did date just for a little bit. Not long at all.
Just 15 years, all good.
But he definitely leans on those strengths that I am really weak in. And I think as a business owner, if you're trying to do everything, that is so stressful. And it's a struggle. So what are like one of the biggest struggles that you, I guess, came across in your business?
I think it was probably figuring out like not knowing what you don't know. So I think when you start a business, you actually have no idea of so many things like cash flow forecast, managing people, growth strategies. Then you have to learn about like starting a tech company, like building tech products, digital marketing, all of those things. So I think it's the not knowing what you don't know makes it really hard to even go, okay, I'm really struggling with X area. I need to go and get better at that. So I think the things that I've found probably most painful in business are things that I haven't realised that maybe were weaknesses of mine until later in the journey. I think there were things that I maybe thought I was good at and maybe weren't naturally as good at. And so I think if I'd known earlier probably having really good mentors around me did help, and they would call me on a lot of my bullshit and be like, hey, I can see some recurring patterns here. Like, maybe you should change how, you're doing X and Y thing because it's not serving you. But I think when you just simply don't know what you're not good at, or when you simply don't know how to change patterning or behaviors, it's really hard.
Yeah,
for sure. So that's what about the struggles in a relationship? You've talked about obviously business, so relationship, what has been a struggle for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think being a founder and entrepreneur, like your business consumes so much of your time, energy, and your headspace. So even when you're physically present in the room with your partner, a lot of the time, I don't know about you guys, a lot of the time I am like not mentally.
I reckon we can relate to that, because
for sure.
That was obviously for us, I felt like that was our downfall.
Yeah, for sure. It was like, if we'd go on a dinner date or something, it was like, oh, what are we doing? We need to do this.
Just
letting you know. Yeah,
just dated my phone.
Just letting you know that this is due or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was zero personal. Whereas now, obviously, we've flipped the dynamic, and I'm genuinely interested in you personally, same as you with me, like genuinely.
You. Whoa.
Yeah, it is hard because this consumes you, life, and you want to give your business 110%. So how can you take away a few little percents, but also it needs to be a big chunk to have a relationship, to have friendships, which I really struggle with. Yeah. That's really hard for me. And then also family, and then like all the other things, events, work.
Exactly.
Like working out.
Yeah.
All of those
what
things.
do you prioritize?
Exactly. So
and to me, it's like all interconnected. Like you think about, you've got this like box of capacity and time. And so I feel like every new thing that I put into the box, I got to take something out, because there's like only a finite amount of hours in the day, or like energy, effort, resources that I have. So I'm like you
and
think.
What's in the box right now, Taryn? What's in it?
Too many businesses, I think. Was a bit of a fail. I get a bit overexcited. Shiny things, and I see problems, and I'm like, oh, I could put, this person, this resources around a problem and solve it. So I'm really committed to working out. Like it's a non-negotiable.
So you got business, obviously health and wellness.
Health and wellness.
Next two, what's the other two?
Friends.
Right,
I'm pretty good. I've got a really tight friendship group who are not all entrepreneurs, but they're all very successful business leaders.
So they understand.
They understand that sometimes, you're like, I've got a really tough week at work. I won't be contactable. See you when I come up for air. Or when I was selling The Right Fit, one of my companies 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? See you in 6 months. I'm not even going to honor commitments. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going to be able to make your birthday, because I'm not. I just need to go to ground. This is the biggest, most important transaction of my life. I just need to go to ground. I need to get this done. Love you guys. I'll see you when I come up for air.
Nice.
So
And do you think being like that and being, I guess, direct with those sort of things, does that give you like a misconception? Like, what is a misconception about you?
I think
it's a good one.
I went through a phase of overcommitting, or committing to things and then feeling guilty, then I would have to pull out, and I'd feel totally overwhelmed, and I'd be like, oh my God. So I think I learned to just be more direct and say, you know what, like I actually can't do that, or I'm going to be really, really realistic for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to be able to get X, Y, and Z done, instead of committing and agreeing to do things and then feeling overwhelmed, killing myself to get things done, and, it not being good for the person or for me. So one of the biggest misconceptions about me, probably I think people really think that I've got it all together and I've got it all figured out, and I absolutely do not. And I think social media partly plays a role in that, and there's this real delicate balance of like, how much do you share about the really tough times? I wrote a blog on it once, actually, because I had a really tough week in the office. We'd had a massive deal fall over. I'd just broken up with my boyfriend. I was just in a shit place. And someone rang me and was like, hey, we met, 2 years ago at this function, blah, blah, blah. I was wondering if my daughter could come and intern from you, because, you're just such a strong, capable woman. You've got it all together. You're nailing it. You're totally killing it. You're crushing it. And I was I'd left the office. I was at home and I was just crying my eyes out. And I'd answered this phone, like a phone number I don't know, which I don't normally do. And I was like, oh my gosh, if only he could see me now. Like how different the reality was from what the external perspective was. And so, I think it's really hard to get that balance right of what you share the behind the scenes, the really, really tough times. You do want people to know that. But, unfortunately what they tend to see is like, the awards, the exits, the cap raises, the hires, whatever it is. So they don't get to see all of the grit and shitty times behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's why we started creating content of behind the scenes and what we do. And I think that's really obviously trending these days. And like people want to see like how much you struggle,
Because
remove the glamorization of it all.
It's not glamorous.
Yeah, at all.
Like last week I was like, I couldn't get up off the couch one day. Yeah. I was just like, nothing was wrong, but I just felt so overwhelmed with everything that I'm doing. But also, like your box, I call mine a plate. And I'm like, okay, I just need a bigger plate. Like, just get me a bigger plate. Or can I have a side salad so that I can fit more in there?
What do I call mine? Pizza box.
A pizza box.
Pizza box is mine.
There you go. More in the pizza box.
Supreme. I'm always into a bit of, DMs. What's the weirdest DM that you've ever received? I get some strange ones. Yes, I get some very strange ones.
I can imagine. I bet you get some juicy stuff.
Juicy.
Juicy, being the operative word. That's it. So I don't get a lot of like weird ones. I get a lot of people asking like, oh, my daughter wants to get into modelling.
Okay.
Like, here's some photos. Can you have a look?
Interesting.
Like, I don't get really any sort of really weird.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't have anyone like sending me feet pics
no,
offering to fly me to Dubai on a boat. Like, unfortunately, I don't get any.
Wouldn't you love that?
Okay,
sweet. I'll just pack up here and I'll go.
Correct. Yeah. Career pivot.
Yeah.
So what did you get? Now I want to know.
I would say the feet one. I'd say
you get a lot of people requesting your feet for some reason.
I'll say undies, obviously, after doing number 2. Yeah, like send me a dirty undies. Yeah, that's one for sure.
That is terrible.
Now I feel totally left out that I'm not getting this creepy stuff.
What else do I get? I'll just get a mixed bag of things.
Oh, wow.
Me and my 2 friends are here in Sydney, just stuff like that.
Wow. Looking for a good time.
Nah, I'm good these days. To be honest. My box at the moment is business.
Is nice and clean and tidy.
Yes, that's it.
It's a clean and tidy pizza box.
You mentioned that you wrote a blog before.
Yeah.
There was a blog that I
think we read one. Yeah.
And you said you're addicted to struggle porn.
Struggle porn. I was like, I wanted to know what it was.
Read that.
I typed it in. I was like, I don't know.
It got me. And I was like, wait a second.
It's a big word.
Yeah. I think there was this whole chapter of like the hustle culture, the Gary V's and like 4 hours sleep, push through, like rah. And I was like, and it was that total like, fake it till you make it, we're all in this like, struggle porn of like, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be like chewing glass, like raw. Yeah. And it was totally unsustainable. It really, I think I didn't question it. There was probably like a good 5 years where that was the thing, right? Like it was like, you do more, you push harder instead of actually going, I'm being like so much less effective. If I got an 8-hour sleep, I'd make better decisions. I would hire better. I would pick better projects. I would invest more wisely. So, but I was in this just absolute hustle culture and struggle porn of like, that's how it was. And it took me a long time to take a step back and go like, this isn't working for me. And I don't think this is actually healthy for anyone. It was really perpetrating that idea of, it should be hard. You should just work hard. You should push through the grind as opposed to taking a step back and thinking more holistically about what brings you joy, what actually satisfies you, what's going to make you build better businesses, build more sustainable relationships.
And now you think you found that balance because your Instagram shows you're going on holidays and you look really happy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
No, I travel a lot, but mainly because I have the flexibility with what I do to be able to travel. But no, I don't have the balance right. I think one of the reasons that I go overseas a lot is when I'm here, I've got a terrible rubber arm. I get roped into doing things, joining more boards, investing in companies, whatever it might be. So I'm not good when I'm physically here. It's better when I'm away. Yeah. And then I can just purely work on my own ventures, my own businesses. And I find the time difference usually works really well where I wake up in the morning, most things have been resolved overnight. So you don't do that, what I do here, which is the immediacy of response, constantly being available on text or calls or emails. And
So when I was traveling, Aaron was playing in Indonesia for a little bit. That's a 3-hour delay.
Yeah.
So when I would wake up, Sydney would have been like, had like half their day.
Yeah.
Because the gym opens at, well, people are starting at like 4:30 a.m. here.
Yeah.
So for me, I would wake up to a multitude, and that gave me
The anxiety. Yeah.
Like I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, okay, I need to get started. What's going on? And you'd have like
Peak cortisol.
Yeah, exactly.
So bad,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, do I like going on holiday sometimes you're like, okay, I'm literally going to completely
Disconnect.
Switch off.
So hard
And when
as a
I'm
business
here,
owner,
it is.
isn't it?
It's really hard. But then it's, would you say that's extremes?
I just had to make a really good digital hygiene of I would wake up and I would train and then I would check my emails because otherwise, probably similar to what you were doing, I'd check my emails and I'd be like, oh my God, I've got, 45 emails here, even though most of it were threads and they'd resolved by the time, you'd got to me. But I would be like, oh my God. And then I'd just open my laptop and I wouldn't train and my day would just go sideways.
I'm
So
exactly the same.
I had to get into a habit.
I think one time you thought I had died. He was like,
True.
where is she? It's 9 a.m.
I'm so
What's
used to
going
it.
on?
I'm used to like, I'm the type of person when
replies.
she's not up at a certain time, I like just keep texting her.
Yeah, what's
Be
going
like,
on?
hey.
Where's the responses?
He's
How
like,
are
hello,
you
wakey,
good?
wakey.
You good? Wakey.
But there was a time where you actually text Aaron, you texted Caleb, and you're like, is she okay?
Is she
like,
okay? It's 9:30, I
legitimately.
haven't
Yeah.
He's like,
It's
actually,
so
I need her to
true.
get to work.
Yes, yeah.
It's not a concern thing.
Yeah,
It's where's the output?
Yeah.
This is a good one. If you had to name a movie after your life, like what would you call the movie?
Do you watch movies?
Do you watch movies?
Wow.
I don't know.
Do you
Well,
watch
yeah.
I do.
What-
Yeah,
what
I love
would you
watching.
call your movie?
I
Yeah.
binge watch movies on
do you?
planes. Yeah. That's
What's your
the
favorite
only
movie?
time I don't feel
What's your
guilty.
Yeah.
What
What have we got? Come on.
I love Liam Neeson.
Okay.
he would be my
Ooh,
whole
okay.
cast.
So
It's so
Really?
good.
Yeah.
Whole
You like the
is so
Taken
good.
vibes.
Totally. Just that like really
I
reassuring.
look a bit like him, you know.
trusted-
No,
Out of about like 30 years younger, exactly. He's aging out now. God, I don't know what I would name a movie about my life. That's a good question.
yeah.
Well, what would
Something
you be yours?
dramatic.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Notebook.
The Notebook would be episode 1, and then it would go into. Nah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's actually got myself on that one.
Yeah.
The Chronicles of
It's a tough
Jono. No, I don't know.
Chapter
what would you call yours?
1000.
They actually
What
put
would I
me on-
call a
yeah,
movie?
Yeah, after your whole life, after everything.
Life with AMC.
The Life of
I
AMC.
like it.
The
Simple.
vibes are always flowing.
Very nice.
I haven't practiced this
I don't think
before.
I'd watch it.
You wouldn't watch it?
Nah.
It's
No,
so
after-
tough, isn't that why you get a
it's
whole creative team when
Yeah,
you do like a
but
book or a movie
we're
or
creative
something?
people.
Yeah.
I feel like we're creative, no?
I'm clearly failing on that one.
So tell us about your wellness, obviously routine. You talk about training
Yes.
quite a fair bit.
Yeah.
And
We
you're
are in a
obviously-
gym. So
yeah,
let's
we're in a gym
touch
and,
on that
Yeah.
a
and
little
you
bit.
look great.
Thank
Tell us,
you.
yeah, like, you know.
It took me a long time to find something that worked for me. But it does make me like 110% better if I train
Yeah.
regularly. So that's
agree.
probably one of the pain points of traveling is you do get out of sync and you've got to try and figure out where you're going to train on the fly, and hotel gyms can be a bit shit.
Yeah.
So when I'm in Sydney, I do reformer Pilates usually 3 or 4 times a week, and then I do yoga, mix of hot yoga and normal yoga, probably 2 or 3 times a week, and then I do love like a big long walk, like 2-hour long walk, coastal walks or around Sydney. And then I've just started doing weights 2 days a week, which is
There we go. That's the
I know.
secret. That's
so
the
I totally
secret.
failed my DEXA scan about maybe 18 months ago. I thought, I'm like toned. I got a bit of muscle. Like I'll
Yeah.
be fine. When I look at comparable to like some other people in my peer group, I'm like, no, I'm pretty muscly. And I totally failed. And they scared me with that whole, you need to have this much muscle mass by the time you're this age.
Yeah.
Otherwise you won't be able to walk up and down stairs. You won't be able to lift a fry pan to cook. You won't be able to live alone. And I was like, oh my God.
That's
So that
scary.
It's
caused
true.
me
Once-
the panic to get into weight
get
training.
into it, yeah,
so,
of course,
and I love
100%.
it. And it definitely is like the best thing for your body. So
Yeah, I agree. You do quite a bit of it, Amy.
Oh, 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
very
mate.
impressive.
Yes, and I'm also like 8:15 is my session. If I'm not done by 9, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
Like regardless, if I started at 8:30, 8:45, I don't care. 9 a.m. is like my cutoff. I can't focus after
Yeah.
that. Like I'm just like, I want to get to my phone. I want to get to
I got
my-
work to do,
Yeah, I got work to do. So yeah, that's for me. But yeah, for you, like we were even talking about it this morning, if you don't get a session in, it kind of just throws you off.
I'm not
Totally
I'm
throws
not
my
a happy
day.
chap.
No, you're not happy. So I was like, Jono, did
Kind
you
of
train
just
today?
not my best. I'm not my best.
Is that what happened?
trained?
You had enough to
I'm not
eat? Have you trained?
no.
You're hungry?
Yeah.
What about in terms of like, you know, we talk about like our strengths all the time. And I think, you know, a lot of us really struggle to talk about our insecurities and our weaknesses. I guess, you know, what would be something that you're weak at, Taryn?
Oh God, there's so many things.
Tell me
like
just
there's such a laundry list.
Quick two.
I think I'm very driven and I have a very clear direction of where I want to go, what I want to do. I'm not great at necessarily taking people slowly on a journey and leading a team that way. Like people who work with me for a long time really get it, and they get the vision, they get the direction. I give them full transparency. I give them so much autonomy to go and execute, but I'm not a player coach manager where I'm like, how are you going? What do you need?
Because some people are like that, eh?
So,
I feel like, you know.
And I really think the next generation also really rely on that. They really need that a lot more than here's where we're going, here's the direction, let's go. You know, I expect you to keep up, and I expect you to manage up. So if you're not keeping up, let me know. But I'm not going to proactively come to you and go,
love that,
hey,
I think
everything?
for me personally, that's the same way that I would kind of obviously run my business and the way that I do personally.
But that also requires a lot of trust that you're putting into that person.
We've lost people because we're very like that as well, but we have lost quite a few people because they just haven't been up to our speed, you know?
Yeah. But going back to trust, I feel like putting that trust into someone, they've obviously got to perform, and you've got to trust that they're going to perform when you're not looking, when you're not around.
Yeah.
And you've obviously brought in quite a few CEOs. How do you trust them to, like, with your baby, basically? It's something, as an entrepreneur, you've built this, you're handing it over to someone and being like, I trust you to take it into the direction that I want to. So how do you do that?
It's really, really hard. I think it's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in businesses, because you do have a very clear direction of your business, your baby, where it's going, what you want it to look like. And the purpose of a CEO is obviously to, one, help execute that vision, but two, do it in their own way, in their own style. And that might be completely different to yours. They might have completely different management style, or, you know, here's your targets that you're going to get to. But a CEO's job is to go, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to get to those targets. They're not here to they're not a general manager, right? You don't give them like, here's a prescriptive way you need to deliver these outcomes. And so that's really hard, because you have to step back and go, the success or failure of this company is now on you. It's not on me. So I have to let you execute. I have to trust that, you know, you've got a vision, you've got a strategy. I've hired you for a reason. I have to trust and let you have a go and do it your way. So it's really, really hard. Learning to take a step back. I think sitting on boards has been really beneficial for me, because when you're on a board, you're not an executive, right? So you're not making management decisions. You're not in the day-to-day. You're not executional. You're really there for governance, strategy, and being a sounding board for the executive team when they need it. So switching that mindset and trying to put a board member hat on and being a director and going, okay, pretend this is not my company now. Pretend this is someone else's company. What would I say as just a director and board member, not as an executive, and trying to be much more impartial and less emotive about the outcome.
Because that's, you obviously have to take that emotion out and be like, okay, this isn't just me anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was about reminding myself why I had put CEOs in. Like, it was always about going, I had other ideas, other ventures I wanted to pursue. I couldn't do that if I was full-time running one company.
Yeah.
So the opportunity cost was, okay, if this doesn't work out and you have a CEO and you micromanage them, or you're all over them, or, you know, you want to get in the granularity and the details, well, then that's going to take time and energy and effort away from these other things that you say you want to go and pursue. So if you really want to go and pursue those things, you have to let this CEO go and execute. So.
And how do you go about like finding the right fit?
It's so hard. I know, it comes up so often. Yeah. Good name, huh?
For your business.
Yeah.
And matching that with a certain CEO.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's spending a lot of time in like the dating process. So I do a lot of walking catch-ups with CEOs and like a lot of my executive team before I hire them. So just lots of time out, because anyone can be great in a boardroom and, with notes and preparation.
Yeah, exactly.
But
the PDF that they send you, it's all perfect.
Pre-prepared.
Exactly.
And, but getting someone on the fly where you're just getting to know each other, going for walks. I'd probably do 2-hour walks, over 4 weeks, with a potential candidate before I would hire them, and just getting to know them and getting to understand how they think, their values, if there's going to be like a cultural alignment, really digging into, a lot of people can talk to, I took an organization from A to B, but then digging into like, well, how much of that was actually you? What parts did you specifically deliver in those businesses? Like, were you actually tangibly involved in X, Y, and Z outcome? Because it's very easy to talk to generalities and like, okay, this is, we grew by 15%, but how did you do that? And what did that look like? And what were the tactics you used? So really spending time digging into those things and trying to get a sense for them as a person. And unfortunately, it's really, really hard until they're in the role. You don't really know. So it is a little bit of a wing and a prayer, but
and do you have like a probationary period?
Yeah, 6 months.
Sure.
Always,
6 months. Wow.
Yeah.
We got a 3-month period.
Yes.
Maybe we need to increase
it.
that.
I think it takes time to get to know someone, right?
Absolutely.
And I think for both parties, like I always say, it's them interviewing me too. Like it's, as a CEO, it's really important that this is a big part of their career journey. They get, all of my CEOs, all of my team actually have equity in my companies. So this is a big decision for you. You're coming in with an owner's mindset. You're going to have equity in this business. You're going to be CEO, and the responsibility of growing and scaling this company is going to be on your shoulders. So equally, it's, an opportunity for them to get to know me. So I think sort of a 6-month probation gives both parties an opportunity to really make sure it's the right fit.
Yeah,
that's awesome, mate.
Sure, yeah.
And I think like next question obviously would be, we talk about like really enjoying the journey. If I was to kind of say for you, Taryn, one day that you would relive, what would that be? Like, for me personally, I'll go to my daughter's birth would be mine. I think that was such a special moment for me, and it continues to be special.
Yeah.
What about for you, Taryn?
I think, God, that's a good one. Selling the right fit was actually turned into such an anticlimactic experience because there's never a good time to celebrate, right? Like you get the offer and then, you sign term sheets, and then there's like 6 months of due diligence and paperwork and blah, blah, blah before you actually get, and this deal was dragging on and on and on. It was nearly killing me, right? And I remember it was like the 22nd of December, and the deal that was supposed to close on like the 10th of December, it was still dragging on. I was like, okay, I am getting on a plane. I am flying. I was going to, my partner at the time, his family were in Barcelona. So I was like, I'm getting on a plane. I'm flying to Barcelona for Christmas. If we do not ink this paperwork on this deal, by the time I get on this plane, I'm out. I'm done. Like this has been going on for 6 months. My stress is like at an all-time high. I cannot do this anymore. And as you can imagine, like there's lawyers and advisors and everyone around the table, and they're like, oh my God, is she really like, and I was like, yes, I'm done. I'm like, come on, like get this done. Like, and I landed in Qatar, and the paperwork was in my email ready to sign. Nice. And it was the most anticlimactic thing because I was by myself in the airport, docu-signing this like, and I was like, wow, and no one here to even cheers champagne with. So I was like, can I get a glass of champagne by myself? Like, amazing. Like, didn't have any of my team to celebrate.
A lot.
Over the Christmas break, it was like, okay, finally it's done. And like, but yeah, it was, I would have loved to have had like all of my team and my lawyers and brokers and
relive that day, we could relive
so
it.
It'd be nice to relive it in a slightly different circumstance. Yeah.
For sure.
What about you? What would it be?
Oh,
our wedding? No?
Oh hell no! Oh hell no!
I thought that would have been okay.
I think
a bit upset now, to be honest.
I think what really brought me, the rebirth of AMC. I feel like I found myself through the most challenging moment of my life. And you obviously know us from previous. Heartbreak, that day that I felt the most pain in my life, I would relive that because it turned me and brought me to where I am today. Yeah. And I'm so proud of that person. So
it's amazing the lows you have to go through to get to,
And it just, it makes you feel so much strength. It gives you the confidence in yourself. So yeah, that would be the day.
Good answer. Yeah.
You're a part of that. Yeah, sorry.
Not meeting you either, sorry.
We'll go into the Castano high-low.
Yes. Yeah. So we do this thing called high-low Castano.
Okay.
You can start off with the low, the high, of obviously the week.
Surprise me. I don't know.
So high, low, and then Castano is something just random that happened to you. So
what's the high of the week?
What's your high of the week?
The low?
My high of the week this week.
Yes.
I was just interviewing some people for a board that I'm on. We're increasing the number of board members. And one of the people I was interviewing was so inspiring and so interesting. And it made me come away going, you know what? Like, you know how sometimes you've had a really shit week and you think, are people really selfish? Are there good people out there in the world anymore? And I was like, wow, like amazing, amazing human beings that really want to do good in the world, that really work bloody hard to do things for other people. And I was like, it really re-inspired me. So that was probably my high for the week.
Nice, awesome, mate.
Nice.
And then the low?
The low was probably seeing my alarm go off this morning and realising I was just so far behind and so unprepared. As we were talking about earlier, I've got to fly to Melbourne today. I hadn't packed. I had every intention of like getting up super early. I actually did get a workout in, so tick. But I was like, oh my God, today is not going to go well. And you know, when you're staring down the barrel of a day where you're going, I know I'm going to be flustered and stressed and not get everything done. And I should have packed last night, but I was already, I was up at midnight. And anyway.
And it's hard to be present in that as well, right? You just feel like it's a whirlwind and you're like, wait a second, what happened?
I put everything on pause for a minute so I could just catch up.
Just press pause.
Exactly.
And what's something random, funny?
Any funny during the week?
Random?
It's always something funny in my weeks anyway.
Oh my gosh. Random funny thing for the week.
I struggle with this as well.
Yeah, it's always the end.
It's really hard to think about.
Yeah, it's something you got to find out, man. You know?
Random funny one for the week.
Random show, random movie, random drink, random met someone randomly.
You know what? Okay, a random thing this week.
Yes.
I signed up to do the AICD course, which is the Australian
saw
Institute of Company Directors.
Okay.
And this just goes to show how much with my, creator, our industry hat on, this big box arrived to my office and I was like, oh my God, cool. I'm going to get all this merch. It's going to be like a water bottle and a diary for my note taking. It's a 5-day full-time in-person course. I was like, okay, be the water bottle note taking, maybe a hat, I don't know, maybe a pen. Yeah. And I open this box and it is just 3 massive ring binders of pre-reading.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh my God.
Pre-reading. So not even for the course.
No, it's 6 weeks of pre-reading before you do the 5-day in-person course.
That's
and I was like, oh, what a rude shock. This was not what I was expecting at all.
Can I just say hashtag struggle porn?
Struggle
Correct.
porn.
Struggle porn.
I'm going to use that.
Struggle porn.
I like that.
Big time.
I like that.
Not what I was expecting at all. So
oh my God.
the definition of struggle porn.
Yeah.
I like
big
it.
time.
It's good.
Big time.
Yeah.
What's your high-low Castano of the week?
I guess my high would probably be, making my home. So obviously I moved about 4 weeks ago and I think making my home really my home in terms of making I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
You've been there for how long now?
It's been about 4 weeks now.
4 weeks and I only just got invited.
Yeah, you only got, it's good you're lucky you got invited after that
literally.
comment. After that.
But I have to say I'm very proud of the way you've decorated it. It looks
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Thanks.
Really nice.
Low would probably be, I guess just, not... It was obviously my daughter's birthday on Monday and not being able to be with her on her birthday. I think that really hit me.
Yep.
And then just I guess when people know that it's your daughter's birthday, not many people kind of reaching out being like, hey, I hope you're okay. How are you? You know what I mean? Because it is a hard thing,
Absolutely.
And, I think that was tough for me that day, to be honest, mentally. Interesting would probably be Temu. Fuck, Temu is actually not bad, just for those little things, eh?
How addictive is it?
I was just been scrolling through it. I'm like, it's like those little things.
And then you go, wow, I do need a garlic crusher. Actually, I am going to get a toothbrush head cover.
Yes.
And then
I
all of
needed
a sudden you're on press on nails and you're like, wow, okay, maybe I do need that too.
I know.
I've got everything at my place now. You name it, I've got it.
And it's like $1.97.
Yeah,
I know. We're all contributing to global warming and child slavery.
Absolutely.
It's so bad. But I agree with you. I mean, this terrible Temu vacuum.
Amy, you're mate.
Okay, well, I'm going to start off with my low. This week, Ollie. So I gave him a shower because we don't have a bath at our place. I gave him a shower, and the only way he'll get in the shower is...
Timu sell baths.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I need to get onto that. Dog baths on Timu.
Just to let you know.
Amazing. So he would only get in the shower if I was with him. So I was holding him in the shower. Then all of a sudden I felt this like lump on his face, and I washed it. It started bleeding. And I was like, what is this? So we took him to the vet. He goes to school as well.
So this is so cute.
Yeah. So,
cute.
Underneath that like dried lump was a dog bite. So he had got bitten at school.
Oh.
And Aaron keeps saying he lost the fight. And I'm like, no, I'm sure the other dog looks
worse.
Yeah.
Ollie.
But yeah, that was my low. My high of the week. We are starting this thing called Acero Marketing Department. So we just want to we have a lot of funny stuff that goes on here at Acero, and, you know, we're obviously, you know, the premium gym that we are on socials, but we wanted to also share that really funny content that's probably not safe for work on the Acero channel.
Our April Fool's was pretty.
April Fool's was good.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it was good. It said that we were closing down our gyms and that
we're moving to Canberra.
We're moving to Canberra and we're cancelling all the packs.
Yeah. And,
like a bold move for a business. I love it.
It was just like April Fool's.
And how many messages did you get?
Quite a bit.
They're like, wait, what?
A lot of hate. A lot of people being like, I just signed up.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So that would be my high. And then, my Castano. It would be, I introduced one of my, staff members as my co-worker. I was like, oh, this is my co-worker. And then we both looked at each other and we're like, that is the most random thing that you've ever said. But sometimes you just feel like, do I say that this is my staff?
Yeah, true.
Or I'm like, this is my co-worker. Yeah. Like, cool.
Yeah, I used to do that actually. I'd be like,
you
know, Katie works with me
as
opposed to like Katie works for me.
For me,
or whatever.
Yeah, it's better. But yeah.
There we go. Another one bites the dust. Don't dust it.
Sure.
Dust it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
God,
Seriously, it's
me.
great to obviously know more about you, and I think you're an amazing person.
Chat.
And whenever we talk, I feel obviously you got such great energy, and
I feel
you're
so inspired.
super inspiring. So thank you. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate
I loved it.
Thank you.